all my things to do. I was struggling because as I sat down, uh, fresh, hot, steaming cup of coffee in my hand, I went to put my headphones in my ear and I dropped it right into the coffee.
Yeah.
So I'm getting coffee from my cup and also maybe through my ear. I might be extra caffeinated if it soaks into my brain that way.
And then they're okay. They're not like broken from you doing that.
I can hear you and you can hear me. They
Okay.
taste good. I don't know.
Oh man. Oh
Is that a little
man.
gross?
It's a little gross. It's a little bit.
Just a little bit.
Yeah. What's up?
You sound like you're losing your voice.
Yeah. It's got a thing in my throat. Yeah. I'm okay. I'm good. I'll drink some
Yeah,
water.
don't get too rowdy today. Is that what we're gonna have to do? We're gonna have to keep it calm.
Yeah.
No,
Keep it
no fun,
calm. No
no
fun.
fun, no
No.
laughing.
Mm-mm. None of that.
Okay. I'll see if I can do that. I don't know if I can do that.
Okay.
You ready?
You ready?
I mean, my headphones are covered in coffee. What else can go wrong? Let's do it.
All right, let's do it. So I'm reading the quote to you today. Any person capable of angering you becomes your master. Ooh.
Yeah. Yeah. I think this one's especially important for the world we live in today, and which was different than 6 months ago, which was different than 2 years ago, which obviously the world is always changing. But I think this one is really important for how kind of angry and divided everyone seems to be. And we talk about that idea a lot, and we try not to pick sides in this setting, at least. But I really think that if if you're getting angry, you have to, obviously it's tough in the moment to take a step back and analyze the situation when you're getting angry.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's really important to do some work on why you're getting angry. And we'll talk about some of these things like, is this serving me? Should I actually be angry? Is this just harming me? But also ask, is someone trying to make me angry? Who has a vested interest in me getting angry?
Yeah.
And so if you're in an argument, if you allow the person you're trying to convince or argue with to make you angry, you're going to lose. If you are, sports, I always go to sports. If you're playing sports and you let somebody talk trash and get in your head, you're going to lose.
Yeah.
If you are trying to understand what's going on in your life and you allow events to make you angry, you're not going to see the truth. If you're trying to understand what's going on in the world and you allow anger to cloud your vision, you're not going to understand.
Yeah.
So I think this leads us to all kinds of interesting places. And, we could go on for a long time talking about anger, both in our lives and just in general. But what about you? What were your thoughts when you heard that quote?
I mean, you hear it all the time. If you're in charge of your emotions, you're in charge of yourself. So if somebody else is doing something and you let that consume you, control your thoughts, control your day, then you're letting them win. You're letting them run your day. You're letting them run your emotions, and no one's in charge of your emotions but you. And I think that's a really difficult thing for everybody, even for myself. If we're talking about what's going on in the world, I know for a good chunk of time, I let that get me very angry and I let that consume me. And then I was like, I took a step back and I was like, wait a minute, this isn't how I want to be. This isn't how I want to show up. And this isn't any different from the people that are making me angry, that are doing hurtful, mean things. So I know that's not the type of person that I want to be. I know for myself, when I'm angry, I get quiet and like I retreat inside and I almost like overanalyze things. And I almost try to, it's not almost, I've tried to justify my anger, like come up with reasons why it's okay for me to be angry. I have all these justifications for being angry.
I think that's normal.
Yeah. So that's what I thought of when we read that. I think it does. I hate to bring up what's going on in the world, but I think it does relate to what's going on in the world, because there's so many people that are really angry right now.
Yeah.
And they'll just blame it on, I mean, I think this has always gone on though. They'll just blame it on somebody else or their circumstances or their childhood or whatever they can blame it on to try to play the victim on why they're angry and why they're allowed to be angry and stay angry and mean and bitter. So,
yeah. So I wanted to talk about this since you're talking about what's going on in the world today. I think it's important to bring up. And there's more than two sides to it. There's a couple important points to this. So on one hand, you have like this victimhood mentality, this idea that the world is rigged against me and it's unfair and I should be having a big pity party over here. And I would agree with the first 2 points and disagree with the third. I think the world is unfair. I think it is rigged against almost everyone to varying degrees. Some people, it's certainly the deck is stacked even more so. But I don't think that entitles anyone to a victimhood mentality, because it goes back to the question of who is gaining by making me angry. In this case, who's gaining by making me embrace victimhood? You're the only one who can allow yourself to enter this victimhood mentality. But when you do, you're only helping the people that you're mad at, that you're blaming, if they are truly trying to take advantage of you, which a lot of times they are. You're only helping them by embracing the victimhood mentality. If you look at really successful people, and that doesn't just mean financially, career, even just like parenthood, motherhood, fatherhood, who had things stacked against them, they never embraced the victimhood mentality. Those are the losers and the bums on the street who embraced victimhood mentality. The successful people had things stacked against them. Yes, there are people who get handed everything on a silver spoon, but there are also incredibly successful people who said, screw this victimhood mentality. I'm just going to work that much harder. And I think that is one huge problem in what's going on today, is people embracing victimhood. Shit happens to you. You want to get angry about it. That's fine. But don't play a victim. Do something about it. And we'll talk about that later. The other side of what's going on in the world is there's a lot of things happening, and we had a conversation about some of this last night. There's a lot of things going on in the world that we should be really, really freaking pissed off about. Things that are being done to children especially. And a lot of that's been coming out lately, but it's more than just that. I'm not going to list off a bunch of things because I'm just going to get down a rabbit hole. But there are actually things that we should be mad about in what's going on in the world today. But that gets us into the conversation about using anger constructively. So if we're angry about something that's going on in the world, then you have to ask yourself, if you can answer the question, should I actually be mad about this? Which in some cases it's yes. Then you have to ask yourself, how can I constructively use this? Because if you use it constructively, I think anger can be an incredible motivator, an incredible force for change, especially social change. But if you allow it to consume your life and just take over everything, it's going to rot your brain. And so how do you use it constructively without allowing it to take over your life? I have no clue. I don't know how to do that. I know it can be done, but I don't know how to do it. So that's another question that I think we'll get to. But since you're talking about what's going on in the world today, I think victimhood is the wrong way to handle it. But then again, there are some things that we really should be pissed off about. And so then as a society, we need to have this thought process of how to actually constructively change things.
Yeah.
instead of just raging, or losing our minds.
Yeah. I kind of want to go, um, I am not judging anybody that is playing the victim. I understand that it's not a good place to be, but I was there. I played the victim very well, and I could quite possibly still be there if I hadn't done the things that I had done. And I am not here to point fingers, name call, or judge anybody for wherever they are in their journey. If somebody is playing the victim now and plays the victim for the rest of their life, that's not my place to point fingers or call names. That's part of their journey. They're not supposed to evolve, grow, whatever, and that's not like, yeah. But I don't know. I was going to go into what the question was, but I don't want to go into the question before you asked me. So,
Well, yeah, because I do want to say something else about what you just said about
yeah.
victimhood.
Well, because you said
So,
something about the losers and the bums on the streets. I kind of am against what you said when you said that, because some of those people, we don't know their story and what they went through. And yeah, there are many that are just trying to make you feel bad for them and make money, even though they don't need it or they're using drugs or whatever. But there are many, many of them on the streets that we couldn't even fathom what they've been through. So,
well, yeah, I'm not trying to say that they're terrible people or that they deserve that situation at all.
yeah,
I'm saying that's what's going to, the deck is stacked against you. You have a choice.
yeah,
Do you play the victim and that's where you're going to end up, or some form of that? Or do you decide you're going to accept that the deck is stacked against you and just keep working hard,
yeah,
keep trying to change, keep trying to break the chains, keep trying to improve yourself, keep busting your ass, and that's where you'll find success. I'm not judging those people in the sense that I think they're bad people or I think they deserve it. Like, there are a lot of people that have been royally screwed and end up in really bad situations. They don't deserve any of it.
yeah,
The only way out of it, my point is, the only way out of those situations is to reject the victimhood mentality
yeah,
and to start doing something constructive about it. I think also, back to what you were saying a minute ago, you said you used to be in this victimhood mentality. There are times where you still are. There are times where I still am.
yeah,
It's something I really struggle with, in the sense of, like, let's say you say something and maybe you don't even mean it. If I take it personally, I can jump all over that and say, well, that's not fair. She shouldn't have said that. I'm going to be mad for the next hour.
yeah,
Right. I do that. I have to catch myself doing that quite often. It's an easy trap to fall into. So I'm certainly not saying that, we or I have never played the victim or accepted the victim, or that we still don't. There are times where we do and we have to catch ourselves. But I think that awareness and willingness to catch yourself and admit to yourself, like, why am I throwing myself a pity party here? I
yeah,
did it. I can't change it. Now stop.
yeah,
Or here it, or what happened really, really sucks. Allow myself to feel the emotion, feel hurt, and how am I going to move forward constructively?
yeah.
So that's something that I struggle with still. Do you want me to ask you the question, since we already started talking about it a little bit?
Yeah.
Okay. So the question is anger ever helpful or beneficial?
Yes, I think it is. I know for myself, I'm just speaking for myself. Anger for me was my like protective mechanism. It's what I used as my safety shield, growing up, and it was very, very very, very necessary. And like I said earlier, sometimes I when I'm angry, I can get very, very quiet and kind of retreat into my head and overanalyze everything. And then what that usually leads to is me trying to justify my anger and me being very explosive and not making any sense. For me, I needed to learn through my healing journey that, and I think if you see a lot of like very, like some self-help people will say that anger is like a bad thing and you should try to move past anger and you shouldn't feel anger and you should kind of always feel like zen and peaceful and happy. And while I do agree with coming to a place of peace, I also do feel like anger has had this huge bad rep. And I don't think anger is a bad thing. I think anger can serve a purpose and it's telling you something. It's opening your eyes to a feeling that you're having. It's making you question why you feel that way. And I know for myself, I misused anger for so long, but I also have been taught through healing that my anger is not bad. I need to stop shaming my anger. I need to stop trying to suppress my anger and make it go away or judging myself because I'm angry. Because that's what I tend to do. I tend to be like, okay, Ashley, like, why are you so angry? Why are you angry again? Why are you always angry? And that's not serving me. That's just making it worse because that's just putting me down a spiral of judgment and shame. So I think if you can come at your anger from a loving place and try to question it and try to figure out why you're feeling it instead of judging it and shaming it, I think it can serve a purpose. And it's there for a reason. It's trying to tell you something. I also feel like there are ways that you can move anger through your body without being explosive like I have been in the past. I would just get very explosive. And I think there's other ways to manage your anger besides becoming explosive. And I also think when you are feeling rage or anger, you have to figure out what works for you. I know for me, a couple of times when I was feeling very, very angry, I would take a pool noodle and I would slam it on the ground and swear. Like I would swear and just say,
go out in the garage.
Yeah, and I would just like say whatever I needed to say by myself on the top of my lungs and bang the pool noodle. And that is me doing something helpful with my anger and moving it out of my body because it doesn't just go away. You don't just say, okay, anger, I want you to go away. I'm going to like meditate this away. No, it doesn't work like that. Like it's still in your body. You need to move it through your body and out. And whatever that looks like for whoever is feeling that angry. And if they tend to get angry a lot like I did, you need to figure that out because you can't just suppress it because you're just going to make it worse.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I agree. You said something about feeling shame because you were angry. I think we've talked about this before on Coffee Talk and in the podcast and just conversations all the time. Your emotions are not shameful. The emotions you feel, you are feeling for a reason.
Yeah.
And what that reason is might be different every time, and it's up to you to figure that out. But the fact that you're feeling an emotion is not shameful or bad. If you act in a way that is not appropriate because of that emotion, because you let that emotion control you, I'm not saying you should ever be shameful, but that's the thing that's not okay.
Yeah.
The action, not the emotion. So if you're feeling, in this case, we'll just say angry. If you're feeling angry and that creates a shame feeling in you, and then that shame feeling coupled with the anger creates an outburst, an explosion, that's a self-defeating situation, right?
Yeah.
If you can acknowledge that what you're angry about is making you angry for a reason, it's a warning sign, it's a red flag. Maybe somebody did something really messed up, or maybe you're getting angry about something that isn't a big deal at all. And then it becomes, well, why is this making me angry? It's not about this. It's not about what that person just did or whatever I'm blaming it on. That's good. That's taking the warning sign or the red flag and figuring out what it's warning you about. That's something that you shouldn't feel shame about. You should actually feel pride about. Thank you for for the anger, thanking yourself for the anger as a warning sign so that you can see the reality of what's going on. But then if you don't allow yourself to feel that emotion, that's usually when, and I'm not just talking about you, me, the royal you, everyone, when we don't allow ourselves to feel the emotions, we're basically dooming ourselves to act out in a way that is inappropriate because we're trying to suppress the emotion. And it's like, trying to hold an explosion inside a plastic bottle. Eventually it's going to explode out.
Yeah.
It's not serving the purpose. I think every emotion it has a purpose. In the moment, it's really hard to remember that, right?
Yeah.
I'm about to lose my mind because I'm so angry. It's really hard to remember, hey, maybe this is a red flag. Hold on, before I lose my crap, let me think about what this red flag is. That's not going to happen, at least for me.
Yeah.
If I'm about to lose it, I can't think rationally like that. And if you try and point that out and you say, hey, honey, you're freaking out about something and it has nothing to do with this, that I'm not going to hear that. That's going to make me upset. It's going to make things worse. So I think you said something about how you can't meditate anger away. You needed to let it flow. I think maybe someone can. That's not right for you. You needed to go whack a pool noodle on the garage floor and scream the F word over and over again.
Yeah.
Which is, I mean, I'm laughing, but it's like good for you for being able to A, figure that out, and B, have the guts to go do that. Obviously you removed yourself from in front of the kids, but I knew some of the time what you were doing, and like, good for you. Maybe I thought it was silly, or I was like, okay, good. It always helps. Like it doesn't matter. You had the guts to go and do something about it. But maybe sometimes meditation will help proactively. I know a lot of people say meditate, meditate, meditate. It's really hard. It's hard to learn. It's hard for anyone to sit. So if it doesn't work for you, try something different. But I mean, there's proactive and then there's reactive in the moment. You're about to snap. That's proactive because you haven't snapped yet, but it's a little bit in the moment.
Yeah.
And I think for me, we've talked about the differences between you and me. For me, I need to have conversations like this. I need, when I'm calm, I need to understand my feelings and reality when they're not overwhelming me, so that when they start to well up, I have the understanding in place, because I don't think as rationally in the moment. And I need that now or beforehand, kind of proactively.
Yeah.
For me, I'm visual, you're auditory, right? So you like talking about things a lot, I think. I like talking about things too, but when you and I get into a fight and I'm ready to lose it and you're not willing to talk, right? So I'm kind of pacing the house ready to snap. One of the things that I've found incredibly helpful is sitting down and journaling. And it sounds silly, and it sounds like maybe it wouldn't help. But when I'm angry and I sit down and I start to write out what I'm complaining about, it's, for me, I don't know if it's being visual or it's getting it out. It doesn't work the same when I say it out loud. I start to write down what's making me angry, and I start to hear, as if it's coming from someone else, how it's not ridiculous, because like I said, what you're feeling for a reason, but I start to hear how I'm missing the point.
Yeah.
And I start to go back. I don't know why this is one question that really sticks in my head, or it's not even a question, but it's just a point. You and I talk all the time about this relationship is 100% my responsibility and 100% your responsibility. And I think that's true for everything you do, not just relationships. And I start to see, when I'm writing out what I'm feeling and basically bitching and whining about whatever I'm angry about, I start to see or hear how I'm not taking responsibility for myself.
Yeah.
If I was taking responsibility in this situation, how would it look different? It's like, okay, well, I got to take responsibility. Ashley said something really mean, but I got to take responsibility for the fact that so did I. And leading up to it, her anger and her explosion on me may not have been fair, but where did I do things that aren't fair?
Yeah.
And if I'm going to take responsibility for the past, let's take responsibility for how to fix this. And so journaling, it kind of helps me process things where I'm not just butting my head up against the problem, making it worse. In this case, a fight. You know, if I come and I try and figure it out with you before you're calm and I'm calm, we're just going to get back into it. But if I figure it out on paper, I start to hold myself accountable. I start to act responsibly, and I start to realize, okay, yeah, she not cool what she did, but
Yeah.
I'm in the same boat.
Yeah.
And so I think that's not using the anger constructively, which I want to talk about too. But you know, one big thing I'm going to repeat is the idea of warning flags, warning signs, or red flags. Your emotions are warning signs.
Yeah. I want to speak to that for a minute. The warning signs, usually like anger for me, I know is some kind of like, if I question it after, it's because I'm triggered by something. I'm either triggered by way too much noise, so then my trigger turns into anger. I'm worked up about having to, I'm an introvert. I don't like going to places that have a lot of people bunched in together, where I know that I'm going to have some kind of small talk conversation. That's like my least favorite thing. And so I will get worked up before I have to go to an event like that. And I will get angry. It's not like I'll get like quiet, and like I will get anxious and angry. But I know if somebody, like if Locke says to me, Ashley, you know, what's going on? I'd be like, what are you talking about? Because I don't even notice that I'm angry. But when he asks me, then I'm able to say, oh yeah, I'm doing that thing again. So I'm able to like take a step back, because I don't always notice on my own. I have gotten better at noticing when I'm worked up and I'm getting angry about a trigger, but that's where I said that anger serves a purpose in a lot of ways, because it helps you realize maybe you didn't know what your triggers were. Maybe you didn't know when you got worked up. Maybe you didn't understand your anger. But then if you take a step back and then you'll be like, why am I angry right now? Like I was fine 10 minutes ago. You can kind of piece together the puzzle pieces to figure out what the anger is trying to tell you or show you. So
Yeah, for sure. I think I wanna touch on one more thing. I have actually another quote that this conversation has kind of reminded me of. It is about the idea of anger being used constructively. It's wise to direct your anger toward problems, not people, and to focus your energies on answers, not excuses. And I think it sums up what we've talked about kind of from the beginning. So, you know, if you feel anger, like we've talked about, if it's a warning sign or a red flag, if there's a real reason to feel that anger, like with a lot of what's going on in the world today, you have to question, so what's the problem that I can direct this toward, as opposed to people? Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of differing opinions right now on any topic. There's people who feel really strongly about one side or the other, and they get angry, right? Mm-hmm. And they seem to turn that anger towards people instead of the actual problem.
Yeah.
When you turn your anger towards people, you divide the people further. And as I've said many times before, I always ask who's benefiting from people being divided. And I think everybody can answer that question for themselves. And if you can't, you can figure it out if you do a little research. And so that's clearly not the answer, to direct your anger towards the other side of the argument. People are supposed to be allowed to disagree. What's the actual problem? If you're going to feel anger, and you actually should feel that anger, if you can answer yes to the question of, should I actually be feeling this anger, then I don't think it's ever wise to like try and get rid of a feeling and like we've talked about, not inspect it. Mm-hmm. But if it's something that actually should be angering you, it's probably going to be pretty hard to let go. So if you're angry about it, do something about the problem constructively, morally. Don't go hurt somebody. That's not actually doing anything about the problem. That's directing your anger to another person instead of the actual problem. But I think too often we see, and us included, you and I included, when we're angry about something going on in the world or a social problem, you and I direct our anger towards people at first, and we have to catch ourselves. We have to, those stupid people who are doing blah, 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 or think blah, 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 or disagree with us, they're so wrong, and we get angry. And we have to catch ourselves. It's not about the people.
Yeah.
It's about the problem. What can we do about the problem? And I think now is the time with what's going on. I don't like to make things about current events too much, but there's a lot of crap going on that needs to change. And now is the time to take the anger that people are feeling and apply it constructively to the problem, not to the people on the other side who might disagree with you. Or even sometimes you might say, but there are people who are the problem. There are people who are hurting. I agree. A lot of times there are. Focus on fixing the problem instead of getting back at the people. Yeah. Right? So if there are people in power who are doing something wrong, whatever that power may be over you, do something about how they got into power as opposed to worrying about them, right? And then the second half of this quote, focus your energies on answers, not excuses. That goes back to the victimhood thing. I mean, I don't think we need to go back there. It's just summing it up. Yeah. Focus your energy on an answer, not finding an excuse.
Yeah. And even like questioning the anger. I know the anger definitely serves a purpose, because I was thinking about a story. For me, I used anger as like my safety coping mechanism when I was a kid. I know people that have done the complete opposite and had really a lot of trauma and didn't get angry at all, like ever, like didn't even know how to get angry. And then
detached.
Totally detached from the situation. Either made it a joke or, made jokes when they felt angry, or like totally could not feel the anger emotion. And then they did a lot of healing work, and now they can actually get angry and they love it because it's actually allowing them to feel a feeling or an emotion that they weren't able to feel. So I think that's really cool too. I didn't even think of that. I was like, what do you mean you can't get angry? Like, I get angry too much. Why can't you get angry? But it makes a lot of sense. Like that was their coping mechanism, was to totally detach and kind of not feel anger. So
I think, and go ahead.
I know a lot of people that will, make lots of jokes, and whenever they're in a situation where they might get angry, they'll make a lot of jokes to kind of, not feel that anger. It's almost like, for me, I would feel shame or guilt for being angry. There are also people that don't feel the shame or guilt, but they'll make a joke out of it. And I don't think that's healthy either. But I think, like what you were saying, questioning why you feel that way, and even journaling about it and trying to figure out when you feel that anger, why do you feel that anger, and like what you want to do about that anger. Is it serving a purpose? Like, if you're angry about something that's going on in the world, then, constructively do something about it instead of bitching and complaining about it or getting mad at people, like what you said.
Yeah. Well, I think it's important to, you said this about you, your explosive anger came as you said defense mechanism, I think. Mm-hmm. It was a survival mechanism. Yeah. There were times in your life where, and I don't say that lightly, it was literally life or death sometimes. For me, I used to use humor to deflect my anger. And that was because I didn't know how to feel emotions. So I think it's, to your point, there are times where maybe the way you handle anger as a defense mechanism, maybe it's a survival instinct. Yeah. And you need to analyze, did this serve me in the past? And if it did, well, then thank you. And I'm going to change it now. Thank you for serving me. Sometimes it's just a defense mechanism because you don't know, like in my case, I didn't know how to feel the emotion. I also am explosive when I'm angry. And I think I know that scares me. It still scares me. It scared me. And so I would deflect to keep myself from exploding.
Yeah.
It was because I didn't know how to feel my emotions. So you got to analyze, what's causing it. I want to, unless you have anything else to say, we'll end on a story that I just thought of.
A story. I like stories.
Quick story. And it's about one of our children. So hopefully you'll like it even more. So the other day, it's a good, I don't want to say metaphor, comparison, metaphor, whatever you want to call it, for feeling your feelings and just being honest about your feelings. So the other day, I was putting our 2-year-old down for a nap, and I don't remember why she got upset, but she got upset about something. She wanted something. And I said, I think she wanted like 17 stuffed animals from her rocking chair put in her bed. And I was like, no, we're not doing that. Sorry, it's bedtime. You have 1 or 2. You're good. She got really upset. And so I picked her up and I hugged her and I calmed her down and I said goodnight and I put her back in bed. And as I started to leave the room, she started to cry again. And so I picked her up and I don't think I picked her up again. I think I put my hand on her back and I said, honey, why are you upset? And she said, I just want to be upset right now. And I said, okay, I love you. Good night. She rolled over and went to sleep, stopped crying and went to sleep. So I think the point that I'm trying to make here is, first of all, feel your feelings, like the 2-year-old. Maybe she didn't know exactly why she was upset, but she knew she was upset. And second of all, be willing to admit that. I just want to be upset. Well, if you say, why am I angry? I don't know. I just want to be angry right now. Well, I mean, that's a positive step. Admitting that you want to be angry. You're clinging to your anger because you want to. If you can admit that, great. Good for you. That's one step closer to fixing it. Give yourself some credit. Act like our 2-year-old and admit that you just want to be upset right now. I don't think there's a problem with that. I need a minute to be upset.
Yeah.
So
that actually reminded me of someone once said, if you want to be angry, allow yourself to feel that angry, but put a time limit on it. So be willing to say, I just want to be angry right now, and put a time limit on it. Say like, I want to be angry for 20 minutes. Just let me be really pissed off for 20 minutes and do whatever you got to do in the 20 minutes, but allow yourself, because that's where I struggled, allowing myself to feel that anger without shaming and guilting and judging myself for that feeling. Allow yourself to feel that and then move on.
Yeah.
Feel it and then move on.
We had that conversation many times with our son, and I know you hate, no, it's not that you hate. I know you get sick of sports analogies, but
sick of it.
It's the Tom Brady conversation, right? Tom Brady, for years, we would watch him play on the Patriots, our son, and you'd see him make a mistake or somebody else make a mistake. They come off the field. I've seen him slam his helmet and scream at people, including his head coach. And he gives himself a time limit to be angry, even on the field between plays. He gives himself time to be angry, to tell someone, you screwed this up, or I screwed this up. Let's fix it. And either the next play or the next series that they're out on the field, he's over it. He's not letting it affect him negatively and make him play angry and screw things up because he's angry, or change his game, his mindset or his plan for the game because he's angry. He gives himself I've heard him talk about it publicly, and I don't know his exact words, but he gives himself a time limit to be angry about it and has no problem calling people out about why he's angry at them.
Yeah.
But they respect that because he's going to move past it when he has to, when the time limit is up, and he has their back. And I think that was a good metaphor for our son. And I think it's a good way to end this. Give yourself time to feel the emotion, like you just said. Maybe direct some in a constructive way, some of that emotion to the problem, letting someone know constructively what happened, and then get to work on moving past it, fixing it, and getting on with your life.
Yeah. Amen.
All right. So I usually say we'll see you guys next week. We're not going to be here next week because next week is Christmas Eve, next
Yes.
Friday. So we're taking a week off. We will see you not next week, but the Friday after that at 8:30.
Is that New Year's Eve?
Maybe. But we're still,
Yeah, we're still gonna do it, but I was like, I wonder.
it's either New Year's Eve or New Year's Day. I don't remember. You'll either be getting ready to go party or you'll be partied out from the night before.
What we do. Go to sleep at like 8:30.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks.
Thanks
Guys.
for joining, guys. We'll see you next time.
Bye.